All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistulka, and I am excited today for several reasons because I've got Brian Davidson here from MatchNode, and we're going to be talking about lead generation with social media and just generally driving business with social media. So, Brian, thanks for being here today.
Delighted to be here, Damon.
Well, Brian, we were talking a bit before, and that's why we were a minute late getting going. I can't not bring this up. We're talking about motorcycles. You're related to the founders of the Harley Davidson, and you said you have a Harley Davidson. So, is there some place that you're riding to this summer that you've already planned out?
Yeah, well, it's the big reunion in Milwaukee this summer. So absolutely, I'm planning on going up for the Foo Fighters concert. And
Very
hopefully
good.
riding up with people along the way. So I'm pretty excited for it. It's been on my calendar for over a year.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Brian, we're here today to talk with you about social media marketing and some of the stuff you've done. I mean, you have got a tremendous list of customers. I mean, behind you, I don't know if people know basketball, the team that would be sporting those jerseys, the Chicago Bulls. You've got the New Balance, you've got Lending Tree. Just get on your MatchNode website, and it's the who's who of some of the biggest brands. And your background, again, I'm going to let you speak about it in a minute, but you've really done some incredible things with these major brands through social media. And
Well, it's been a blast. We've helped small companies grow big. We've helped small companies just stay small and really, really profitable. We've helped large global brands like the Bulls advance their digital skills because, of course, a lot of the brands we work with are traditional brick and mortar brands that are transitioning to digital. So we've worked with all different types of teams in different ways, but it's awesome to just have, an impact on those brands over time.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. And I started out talking about the big ones, but when you look on your website, I mean, you've helped restaurants, you've helped a lot of other small businesses, and we'll talk about some of those too, because it really is something that I think just about any size business can leverage if they're doing it right.
We helped a daily newsletter, 1440 Daily News. Subscriber count was in the hundreds. We helped them to get over 1 million in daily subscribers. And they're so big now that they're actually starting to pop up in newsletters that I subscribe to. So it's pretty funny to see it go almost full circle. I'm like, wow, they're advertising back at me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's incredible. Well, Brian, let's talk about your background, because you've got an interesting background in marketing, and talk about how you kind of got into MatchNode and, what really brought things about.
Sure. I can go long version or short version. I'll try to give you the medium version.
There we go.
So after college, I went out to Colorado and I was a ski bum and didn't do too much in the words of career development at that point in time in life. But a lot of development happened on the web because it was 2004 to 2006. And this is when we transition from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0. And Web 1.0 didn't interest me at all. I didn't even own a computer in college. Didn't get a cell phone until my 5th year in school. That tells you the kind of student I was. But during this transition, I absolutely fell in love with it. I remember my favorite writer quitting ESPN and starting a blog. I'm like, what's a blog? I remember signing up for MySpace for the first time and coding my background, even though I don't know how to code. How do I put an MP3 player in my profile? This is so cool. I remember the first time I could join Facebook, and which was kind of interesting. For a graduation gift, my dad gave me a lifetime membership to the Alumni Association, which really didn't give you all that much, but I got an indiana.alumni.edu address. So Facebook thought I was a student, and I could join about 1.5 years before my friends. So all these things were happening at once, and it got me just very, very excited. In the meantime, I was tired of being a ski bum. And I got a job. I moved back to Chicago, moved into my fraternity brother's couch. And I'm like, okay, I need to find a job. And I am interviewing at large marketing agencies, hoping to get in. they didn't love ski bum at the top of my resume. I ended up working for a business that was pretty small at the time that was helping athletes find sports scholarships. I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting. These guys seem like they're
Mhm.
entrepreneurial and they're going somewhere. But I literally got a job answering the phone. And a little bit into the tenure, I had the guts to walk up to the CEO founder, say, I think we need a social media department. And it took some convincing and a little bit of luck. I met some
Mhm.
people along the way, made some intros, but eventually they said, okay, kid, you got the job. And I really basically took 8 months time to do it, but I told them I wanted to become the director of social media. And they're like, sure, that's totally fine. Well, I was probably one of the first one of those in the country.
Mhm.
I really helped that business grow, specifically online through Google Ads and the first Facebook ads and redoing our landing pages and doing some great work in SEO. And we drove hundreds of thousands of leads really for that business to the point where it was when I was left, I was, in the millions probably when I started there, left around 36 million in revenue. After I left, they were acquired by private equity. After that, private equity sold them to Endeavor. Endeavor went public. They actually got merged with IMG. They just got spun out in a big deal that was in the news last week. So I was
Wow.
at the beginning. So I certainly can't take credit for all the things that happened along the way, but I'm really grateful that I was able to play a part. So
Yeah.
during that whole career process, I actually ended up meeting my co-founder, Chris, who I actually ended up hiring as a consultant to do some work for us on the side. And after I exited that business, I went to another agency actually that was down in Tampa that was working on some social media tech. They were one of the first officially licensed Facebook app makers for apps that ran on Facebook. Think
Mhm.
school farm bill app that ran on Facebook.
Yep.
Things around giveaways, gave away a gajillion blooming onions to gain likes. When likes were seen as the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
And they were an innovative company to work for at the time. And then I ended up exiting that business and not really knowing where I was going to go next. And I ended up meeting up again with my friend Chris. It was before the first Pearl Jam show at Wrigley. And we're both talking about what we're doing. And we're grabbing a beer, like, maybe we should start an agency. And we got together at a coffee shop on Monday and started an agency. So that was about 10 years ago this summer. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been a great ride.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's so much I've got to uncover in this. So let's go back to your ski bum days.
Sure.
Favorite place to ski in Colorado?
Vail, Colorado. That was where I lived.
Vail. Very good.
Can't beat the size. I initially thought I was going to go to Steamboat. I went there on spring break, my senior year of college. I was bored of it by the 5th day. And I'm like,
Yep.
I need to be somewhere bigger.
Yep. Yep. I would agree. I've been there a couple times and I really enjoy that. So the director of social media, what year was that?
Started the business in 06, probably been 07.
Wow.
I remember getting invited out to a conference in Boston. And at the time, I think I had 10 vacation days. And I told my boss, I'll pay for the trip. I didn't think they'd be in for me, paying for me to go out there to speak. But could I please not use up my vacation days? And they're like, go ahead. And there were some heavy hitters at this conference. There were some old Sun Microsystem guys. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get in front of these people and just sound like a complete idiot. I was thinking of the old Seinfeld episode when George is reading the risk management thing and the Ovaltine joke, if you're a Seinfeld fan. And just terrified. And I got up there and the first part was pretty shaky and the second part really broke through. And a lot of just older people who I just immediately deemed as authorities in the room came over and really validated what I was doing. And it was a big step in my career.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear that.
And the funny part was, how they found me is they just did a LinkedIn search for social media jobs. And there weren't that many of us.
Oh my goodness. That is something. That is something. And then you said you worked at the first one of the first Facebook app makers where they made Farmville. I mean that
they didn't make Farmville, but I'm equating it to Farmville. They made that type of desktop app that was so popular for
because
about a 2-year run before Facebook really went mobile.
Yeah. It's crazy how some of those apps really took off on Facebook early in the day because there just weren't anything like it.
Like I mentioned, they worked with Outback Steakhouse, and they gave away bloomin' onions in receivership for a like. And at the time, that was kind of a hard app to build. So they had to
Yeah.
build it on Microsoft Azure. And for quite some time, actually, one of Microsoft's most downloaded case studies was how they built the cloud infrastructure to give away bloomin' onions. So we always made the joke in sales meetings that we gave away 1 billion calories for a couple 100 million likes.
Oh wow, wow, that's cool as heck. And your history there. So as we're moving forward, and you met back up with your current partner, Chris. Is that right?
Mhm.
Um, what really got you guys to go, hey, let's start a company and let's do this? What was
Couple
the
things. I think
seed?
one, we were both entrepreneurs. I was
Yeah.
already working on a part-time gig on the side. I started a business that was trying to help music students find scholarships. So it was really similar to the first business that I scaled.
Hmm.
And I was kind of doing that part-time. Our lead investor was actually the adopted son of Jackie Gleason, which is kind of a funny story. The younger visitor or younger viewers or listeners will definitely not know who that is, but
Yeah.
the older ones will. And so I was kind of doing it on the side. I was basically making enough money to pay my rent and putting the rest on my credit card.
Yeah.
And Chris had a couple freelance clients. Like, maybe we should just put these together, and we're off and running. And the agency I just come from down in Tampa, they made a lot of great tech, but they weren't making money. And
Yeah.
Chris had just come from a video game business that had a lot of great tech and a lot of great partnerships with large businesses, but they never made money. And like, we've got these real businesses that are paying us now. Let's put our skills together and just start making money now rather than try to build the next great thing in tech. Let's do what we're really good at and put it to work.
Okay. Putting it to work. Yeah. So in the early days, what were you guys doing at MatchNode?
Well, you took the bad clients to get the okay clients, to get the good clients, to get the great clients. So we were
Yeah.
getting work off of Upwork. We were really mining our networks. We had an
Hmm.
initial business that was funded on Kickstarter. That was actually at the time one of the larger Kickstarter fundraisers ever at the time. That was trying to do encryption on a thumb drive with your thumb to unlock
Oh
apps on your
wow.
computer.
Yeah.
Tech never really worked, so
Yeah.
they went out of business pretty quick. And we hit
Mhm.
on a couple of those
Yeah.
where we talked to a Kickstarter people, or we mine our network. It was,
Yeah.
but it was the two of
So
us, right? So
what?
we're
Yeah.
just humming through things, learning things on the fly, and then finally starting to scale.
First big break.
The biggest break was getting Lending Tree because
Yeah.
that what taught us what we were best at. So
Okay.
at the time that we got Lending Tree, which is through one of Chris's friends who's an artist, he did some work for them. He linked us up with one of their creative teams. At the time, their internal team on paid social was getting shuffled up, and they brought us in as a stopgap. And we did so well with them that we're still working with them today. And in
Awesome.
that process of working with them, they were the first client that we worked with that had a Slack channel. So we're constantly buzzing back and forth.
Oh yeah.
They were the first client where we spent very large dollars on paid social. And it really gave us the confidence that not just that we were good at this, but we were as good as this as anyone. And we felt like we could sell it as well as anyone. And at that time, we positioned our agency as strategy first. Well, that's great, but that's what everybody, I'm not sure language on this podcast, so everybody effing says.
Yeah.
And we looked at the other agencies in Chicago because we really tried to own that Chicago market in the early days.
Yeah.
And we saw that they all grew up building websites, building large SEO programs, or run Google PPC ads. So we started to position the agency as paid social first. So the combination of repositioning the agency and that validation of knowing that we were very good at things with Lending Tree, I'd say that was our first really big break.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you get that first, like you said, you have the money to put what you think is going to work in action. And then when you see it working with larger sums of money, it really gives you the confidence that you've hit on something that is
this
special.
works, that this platform works.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you're doing this, I mean, if people are listening, and you should go to the Matchnode website, because you guys have some awesome testimonials on there. And like I said, that you restaurants, I'm looking at a B2C now, which is Look Human, and just some of these things where you guys have really use social media, and then the other combination of things with it, obviously, to really drive growth in these businesses. So what is the most interesting client that posed a challenge for you that went, wow, I don't know, but we're going to see?
That's a really good question. I'll go back to the first example. I said of 1440 News, because they're an absolute startup at the time that was probably the most wildly successful of all the stories that we talked to. And the key for them was getting a lead for under $2. And could we do that consistently? Could that lead be a quality lead that continued to open their daily newsletter at the same rate as their current subscribers? And could that really scale? And we faced a lot of challenges along the way, big run-ups in Facebook CPM, big changes in what type of creative worked, big changes in what type of targeting worked. We went through the Apple iOS 14.5 update with them and all of the changes that happened there. A lot of experimentation around new products that Facebook was launching with conversion leads, conversions API, all these changes that were happening in the marketplace, just the changes in how video was really favored, then still images became really favored, and how we were segmenting by age. All those things really changed over the course of our relationship. And it was really interesting to see how it came. And spoiler alert, they are actually no longer a client of ours, but it's amazing to see that growth trajectory that we put them on. They've actually doubled it, which is really, really cool, and makes me really proud.
Yeah, no doubt. It's super cool, because you bring up so many, the way that social media has changed, not only from the user's perspective is what's popular, what's not popular, and what's available, to the tech behind it, the tech that you guys have to keep up with to understand how your customers are interfacing with it, with their websites or whatever processes they're doing, but how you're managing the whole thing too. It had to be just crazy leaps and bounds in the last 10 years of you guys doing this.
Yeah, 10 years, but really the last 3 have been the most crazy with the Apple 14.5 update and all the privacy changes. It really made Facebook Conversions API such a vital part of any Facebook program. And it made it harder to do a lot of things, but it also enabled new things, which is so cool. Previously, you had offline feeds, but you couldn't really optimize towards an offline feed. This unlocked so many different ways to target and optimize deeper in your funnel. So a practical example is we work with a business called Nonprofit Megaphone. And what they do is they help nonprofits scale on their Google Ads grant, as well as using paid social. And they run a program where nonprofits advertise different challenges. So walk 10 miles a day for every day in May. And you then create a fundraiser and send that out to your friends that I'm committing myself to do this as a challenge. Will you guys commit, if I do this, that you'll be donating back to this, which is going to affect this nonprofit? Using Facebook Conversions API, we're actually now able to remarket to the people that end up donating to those fundraisers. And so we're using Conversions API to unlock a signal that previously wasn't available to them with just a pure web event. And things like that, where you can get really creative and really drive an extra return on ad spend for a business.
Wow. So the last 3 years, I remember talking with somebody, like you said, a few years ago when this was all coming out. It's interesting now. Looking then, people were terrified. And now you're saying it's actually created new opportunities.
Changes like that with everything, right? We could go crazy about ChatGPT taking over the world and launching nukes at us, or we could figure out how to write better ad copy and automate 25 things and help our daily lives and make it a lot easier. And I think you can look at any change as positive or negative. I think overall, probably the privacy update, as far as looking at just how ad performance happened, it's probably a little down. But at the same time, we're able to do new things because
Hmm.
it forced us to think outside the box in a different way.
Yeah. Very cool. So as you're looking at social media, small, mid-sized brands, large brands, what are some of the emerging opportunities that you see or changes that you think are opening up that people might want to think about?
So the first two I'm going to talk about, but I just touched on, is conversions API and conversion leads on Facebook. It's amazing to me how many people are still not utilizing the best demand generation platform in the best possible way. So getting the technical pieces and the background set up are so important to maximize that platform because it still is the most important. On the emerging platform side, we're really starting to see a growth in TikTok for some of our clients, and that's pretty fun. Of course, that's creating challenges in terms of now we need a better creative team to create a different type of creative. But
Hmm.
that's also fun to do things a little bit outside the box. I'm very hopeful that Elon is going to turn a turnaround at Twitter and Twitter ads. Those ads have been, again, pretty garbage for the last 5-10 years. It's been
Yeah.
really, really hard to drive a return on ad spend. We started to see an uptick in return on ad spend towards the end of this NBA season and NHL season with our clients. So I'm very hopeful that that platform is going to turn around. And then we're using Pinterest in select cases to drive leads. And uh, it's slowly changing. And the platforms in which you're able to run someone through to drive a lead are starting to change. We use an innovative e-commerce platform for CPG brands called Pair, where someone is able to click to a landing page and find an online store near them that carries a particular product. We
Hmm.
worked with a specific sausage brand that was carried in local stores. So we're able to link them up and they're able to pull user data back through. We also worked with a chocolate company here locally that does the same type of thing. So there's
Very
all sorts of
cool.
new tech that seems to be emerging, and jumping on that tech quickly, I think, has always been where you find the outsized wins.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you talk about CPG. We work with a lot of manufacturing e-commerce clients, and that what you just talked about, some of our food clients, that would be very interesting to them with some of these regional brands or something
Hmm.
like that potentially. Where was talking with
Especially
a
because your mix of where things are available changes, right?
yes, exactly. Because I was thinking of the small stores that a lot of them are in, or they're not in all the big brands, but they're in
Yep.
some regions they are in the others. It's really interesting to be able to match that up with users. Awesome. I didn't know I didn't need to diverge off of that too much, but it's cool and it's really interesting too to hear how your social is interacting across platforms and some of the technical things you guys are
We really
carrying
have to
out.
think, right? Social is mobile first. The amount of landing pages I still see that are designed for desktop just boggles my mind. If you want to be successful on social media, you need to drive them to a mobile first experience that converts. And increasingly, there's tech ability to help with that conversion, whether that be a chatbot, some sort of intelligent conversion that understands your location. There's so many different options available, but it has to be mobile first.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. Yeah, because it if it's not you're not making it past it. You're
Yeah,
not
like
making it past.
come to this cool page and add 25 different options in here and you'll see your thing and use this filter and that filter. And like, that's way too hard.
Yeah.
Tell them how to convert.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. I had someone I was talking to the other day that said, "Hey, look at we built this new form on our website." I said, "Great." It literally had like 30 different things that people had to fill out. I said, "Are you kidding me? Nobody's filling that out. You might get one in your
Uh,
lifetime."
I learned that in my first job, and that the sales guys want 25 different fields, and they insist they need them all to sell at a high level. And then you take one away and don't tell them, and magically that conversion rate holds.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. So as you're looking at this now, we're talking about there's some places that are some platforms that are rising and new opportunities. What are some of the platforms where you go, man, it's just really getting tough. It's not what we want to do anymore, or it's much harder than it was.
Probably Facebook. If you don't if you don't try the new things, if you
Yeah.
don't get better at it, you're going to fall behind. It's the
Yeah.
biggest opportunity, and it's probably the biggest risk. We realized about 3 years ago, we didn't have a developer on our team. We realized these new signals were going to become really, really powerful.
Yeah.
At the time, we were the best at doing great targeting. We realized targeting was becoming a lot easier. You just use the algorithm to target. But what was really more important to the algorithm than ever before was creative. At the time, we were using different contractors for our creative. We're like, whoa. We need to have great tech and great creative in-house so that we can keep iterating at a quick pace and harness that algorithm. And the brands that aren't doing both of those things at the same time are going to be wasting ad dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is. I mean, I don't know when, it's been a while now since I looked at the user base. But if you look at the user base of Facebook, everybody else is like, we jumped off of Everest onto, look at the mountain outside of your house if you got one.
It's by far the best, and it's by far the best for driving demand. I think that probably the other big opportunistic rising platform that I failed to mention earlier is YouTube. Google's really invested a lot into making YouTube a conversion channel. And that's great to see because, of course, we're spending so many dollars on our Google PPC ads. They're rolling out new products like Performance Max that are a little hard for advertisers to tell true ROI because you're mixing in a lot of different platforms at once and a lot of different keywords at once. There isn't a lot of granularity there.
Yeah.
But YouTube as a standalone product can learn from all the other campaigns that you're running on Google and your Google Analytics and your GA4 transition. So that I think is a real big opportunity for people to grow their ad platforms and their advertising mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So now you guys, and I just want to go back to your website a little bit. I mean, when you look at you guys are getting some of your return on ad spend is just nuts. I mean, you're getting 10x, you're getting a lot of 3 to 6x. I mean, this is significant, the significant returns for people that haven't messed with this before. What do you think someone going into this now? Obviously, your returns are not normal for the industry kind of thing. What should someone be looking at if they're considering talking to someone about lead generation using social media? Because, everybody will say they can do it, but very few do it.
A lot of things to consider there. One, what's your budget? If you're going to do this on a shoestring budget, chances of failure are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Taking budget a step further, I get the question all the time, how much should I be spending on ads and how much should I be spending on marketing? And I have two answers. One, unlimited, because we're pushing this as far as we can, as profitably as we can. And as long as your cash flow supports profitable growth, we want to keep fueling that ad machine. I learned that at my first job. We knew how to close leads. We wanted as many leads as possible. But the second answer is the scary answer. And it's whatever you're afraid you're okay with losing, because this could work and this could not work. And I recommend picking an amount that you're okay with testing on. And so when we start with a client, we start with a 90-day sprint, and that's the soul of their commitment. We say at the end of 90 days, you're going to understand if this works or doesn't work. The ad spend's always at their discretion, but 99 times out of 100, I usually say, let's start with at least $100 a day. That's going to give us enough spend to really learn if these are platforms that are going to work for you. We can run multiple tests. We can learn if something isn't going to work, fail quickly, and move on to something else. So there's a lot to consider there, but the biggest thing is deciding if you're really going to jump in and make a go at these platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there industries, and this is kind of a loaded question. So a lot of people listen to us might not have a product brand. They might be an industrial B2B kind of manufacturer or something like that, or sell something that's not going to sell on the open market, like a lot of products. What do you think would be there? Would a company like that want to look at social in the same way for lead generation, do you think?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So it's a nuanced question. One, how big is their target market? If they can sell to everybody, it's a pretty large customer base, then yeah, direct to consumer conversion ads probably would work well. We worked with a B2B business during COVID that pivoted and was selling PPE products, basically big shields that you would put up in all the businesses. Well, every business in America all of a sudden became a customer. And for a few months, our ads absolutely crushed it. Of course, that market changed and that basically shifted, and our program with them shut down. But there's large B2B businesses out there that can advertise successfully. So with Lending Tree, we have advertised their business loans product. So it's a loan to a business. With another bank that we work with in Chicago, Byline Bank, we're advertising directly to business owners for specific things. So there are things with a large enough addressable market. Conversion ads on social absolutely make sense. Having said that, traditionally, we worked mostly with B2C brands because, again, a larger addressable market makes it for a more successful probability of a successful campaign.
Yeah.
What more often happens for B2B brands is they're slowly building a following and they're slowly building social proof of putting content out there, right?
Yeah.
They're putting content out here like this podcast, and they're publishing it on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram stories. And actually, that's something we actually just started doing in 2023, was starting to work with B2B businesses on that organic social side to slowly build a following and slowly build up that proof that you're really, really good in your industry, expert. That takes a lot longer to do. But the nice piece is that you can support it with far fewer ad dollars. You could take a couple $100 and find a really niche market and target it on LinkedIn. Ideally, you build up a custom audience so you can target it really specifically on LinkedIn. We just started working with a SaaS company that is targeting independent insurance agents. So again, B2B, we're selling a SaaS product to another business, and we've got a great LinkedIn list that we're targeting right now. So it's harder to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. It's great to hear. And two, if people weren't listening here, you switched a couple things, because you were talking about building that following, building that community, building, and then you also talked about actually, selling products and services or introducing those to people, which I think both of them are important. And some people, just that community building or building that following by developing in the organic is a thing that they're getting started.
It's important.
Yeah, it is.
So a lot of people, they don't want their potential. They're selling a large ticket item, and they don't want someone to click through to their LinkedIn page and see crickets.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it is one of the things that I really see all businesses running into now. And some of the big traditional businesses are missing the boat, because the social is so important now, whatever it is. If you should be on Facebook, or you should be on TikTok, or you should be on YouTube, and you're not, I mean, you're missing out. And that's one of the things that I think, and it could be business could be very successful, but without it, you're slowly losing those people that know about you and understand you and will buy from you in the future.
Or the flip side, just the opportunity to grow faster.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I want to apologize to the people that were listening, because I didn't have the comments on, but we got Mike Asherbranner's on. We got Jody Lamb is on here. Thanks for being here today. Deb Curtis. Hey, Deb. Saw that. She's talking about Mike's kids. Knows some of these people obviously know each other. And then, Deb talking about Wisconsin. The ice.
Oh, that's where I grew up, Deb. I grew up skiing on what my dad calls Mount Osplick Ski Club, and I still make it up there once or twice a winter to ski around on the ice on an old garbage dump.
There you go. Good stuff. Well, that's in that part of the U.S. You've got to be innovative to ski. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You can sit inside all winter, or you can go outside and enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brian, this has been awesome talking to you because, I mean, you guys are making social media work for so many different companies. Um, if there's one thing that we could leave people with today that you would say, think about this with social media in your business, what would it be?
Are you truly maximizing the channel? Are you truly maximizing the opportunity? I think there's a lot of businesses out there that could grow faster with social. And I think there's a lot of businesses that fall into the harvesting demand camp. They love their Google ads because someone types in, I want a box of Kleenex, and they buy the box of Kleenex. Well, that's great. But you just paid Google to possibly sell a product to someone that they would have bought on their own by going to your Amazon site, or just coming right through your website, or clicking on an email. But on social, you can truly generate new demand for your product. Someone could wake up in the hoodie I'm wearing. Actually, this is a funny story. I walked in to see my brother last week, and he said, Coastal Crew. I'm like, yep, they got me on the Instagram ads. And he's like, exact same thing. I had never heard of this business. I would have never gone to go find this specific hoodie. And they got in my feed. I clicked on it, and they retargeted me till one moment I was weak on the couch late at night, and I bought it. And that's just a perfect explanation and case study of demand generation.
That is. Thank you for sharing that, because I had not thought of it like that. Because you're right. Google is just bringing somebody that already wants a product just like yours to you. But with social, you're bringing someone that may not even know about your product to you.
And the fastest growing ad platforms are Amazon, Target, all these new ad platforms within e-commerce sites. So all you really have are brands fighting each other to jump in front of each other to the front of the line. Well, that becomes expensive.
Yeah.
But if you acquire that person on social and truly build a following and a relationship with that business, or that person, that's how you can really build a brand.
Yeah. We're just going to have to take a moment of silence for this. Because, man, that's awesome. I mean, because there's so many people that, for years it was the Google train. Because,
it's still a good train. It's still a good train. But
Yeah.
these channels all work together.
They do. They do. It's one piece of it anymore. And like you said, driving new demand through social, building a direct relationship with someone that might be interested in your product or services someday is a way to generate new demand. That is cool. That is cool. Well, Brian, thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate you stopping by. I really think you guys are doing something special there at MatchNode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully people got something out of today.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, man. I really enjoyed it. So I want to thank Mike and Deb and Ashif, and we had Jody for being here today. We'll be back again later. Brian, just hang out for a moment and we'll talk.